He was born on April 28, 1937, in the village of Al-Ajah near Tikrit, in northern Iraq. His name was Saddam Hussein Abd al-Majid al-Tikriti. His father disappeared before his birth, either dead or abandoned, and his mother, Subatulfa al-Musalid, remarried a brutal man who abused Saddam. He fled home at a young age and found refuge with his maternal uncle, Karalat Alfa, a former army officer and devoted Arab nationalist. Raised in hardship, resentment, and political passion, Saddam would one day become the iron-fisted ruler of Iraq, feared at home, hated abroad, and remembered for war, brutality, and absolute control. Education, from first class to final step. Saddam began his formal education late. He was illiterate until the age of 10 and lived in poverty. But once in school, he proved clever and ambitious. He moved to Baghdad and lived with his influential uncle, who introduced him to the ideas of Pan-Arabism, the belief in uniting all Arab nations under one strong, secular leadership. Saddam studied at the Al-Qarh Secondary School in Baghdad, where he became politically active. He joined the Ba'ath Party, a movement that blended Arab nationalism with socialism and authoritarianism. The Ba'athists dreamed of a powerful, unified Arab world free of Western influence and monarchy. In 1957, at the age of 20, he officially became a member of the Ba'ath Party. A year later, he participated in a failed assassination attempt against Iraq's prime minister. The operation failed. Saddam was shot in the leg and fled to Syria, then to Egypt, where he continued his political education. He studied law at Cairo University, though it is unclear how much he completed. He returned to Iraq in 1963 after a brief Ba'athist coup temporarily overthrew the government. That coup collapsed, and Saddam was imprisoned. During his time in jail, he built alliances and studied power. When he escaped in 1967, he was more dangerous than before, calm, calculating, and determined to reshape Iraq in his image. How he became a dictator. Saddam's rise was methodical, ruthless, and backed by blood. In 1968, the Ba'ath Party seized power in a coup known as the July Revolution. Saddam, though not yet the head of state, became the engine behind the scenes. He was appointed deputy to the new president, Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, his relative and ally. In the next 10 years, Saddam quietly built the machinery of control. He reorganized the internal security forces, expanded the secret police, and infiltrated every level of government. He monitored ministers, executed opponents, and rewarded loyalty with wealth and rank. His hand was in every decision, even if his name was not. In 1979, President al-Bakr resigned under pressure, and Saddam Hussein assumed the presidency. Within days, he summoned hundreds of Ba'ath Party officials to a meeting. There, he read out a list of names alleged traitors. One by one, the men were removed from the room and later executed. It was a purge that shocked the party and cemented his rule. Saddam had eliminated not only his enemies, but also anyone who might one day oppose him. From that moment, he ruled Iraq with unchecked power. After acquiring dictatorship, rule over army and country, Saddam transformed Iraq into a fortress of fear. He built a state where no one spoke freely, where neighbors spied on neighbors, and where one wrong word could lead to disappearance. His portraits were hung in every office, school, and shop. His speeches were broadcast on every radio, every television. He was the father of the nation, the guardian of Arab unity, the sword against imperialism. He invested heavily in the military. Iraq's army became one of the largest in the Middle East. He purchased weapons from the Soviet Union, France, and even the United States during certain years. He developed chemical weapons, missiles, and began a secret nuclear program. Saddam used oil wealth to modernize Iraq's cities and infrastructure. He built roads, schools, and hospitals. He offered free education and subsidized food. Baghdad became a city of marble palaces and statues. But beneath this surface of prosperity lay surveillance, torture, and terror. He launched campaigns of ethnic cleansing. The most infamous was the Anfal campaign of the late 1980s, when Iraqi forces attacked Kurdish villages in the north. Thousands were killed by chemical weapons. Entire towns were razed. Men, women, and children were buried in mass graves. This campaign, Saddam claimed, was to eliminate Kurdish rebels. But the scale of destruction revealed a deeper hatred. He also targeted Shiite communities in the south, viewing them as agents of Iran and enemies of his Sunni-led regime. Secret prisons multiplied. The Mukhabarat, his intelligence agency, became synonymous with fear. In 1980, Saddam invaded Iran, launching a war that would last 8 years. It began as a gamble. He believed Iran, weakened by revolution, would fall quickly. Instead, it became one of the longest and bloodiest wars of the 20th century. Over 1 million people died. The front lines moved back and forth, but no clear victor emerged. By 1988, both nations were exhausted. A ceasefire was signed, but Iraq was left deeply in debt, especially to Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. In 1990, Saddam turned his eyes to Kuwait. He accused the small, oil-rich nation of stealing Iraqi oil and sabotaging Iraq's economy. On August 2, 1990, Iraqi tanks rolled across the border. Kuwait fell in 2 days. Saddam declared it the 19th province of Iraq. The world reacted swiftly. The United States led a coalition of countries in what became known as the Gulf War. In January 1991, a massive air campaign bombarded Iraq. By February, ground forces drove Iraqi troops from Kuwait. Baghdad was spared invasion, but the Iraqi military was crushed. Uprisings broke out in the north and south. Saddam responded with overwhelming force, killing thousands more. The United Nations imposed harsh sanctions. Iraq's economy collapsed. Food and medicine became scarce. Yet Saddam remained in power, ruling from palaces while his people starved. His image grew more bizarre. He appeared in novels, staged sword dances, and claimed divine protection. His sons, Uday and Qusay, became notorious for their cruelty. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq, accusing Saddam of possessing weapons of mass destruction and harboring terrorists. Baghdad fell within weeks. Saddam disappeared, hiding in bunkers and safe houses. On December 13, 2003, he was found in a hole near his hometown, unshaven and filthy. The man who had once ruled with gold and guns was captured without a shot. List of bad deeds. Ordered mass executions of political rivals, military officers, and civilians throughout his reign. Used chemical weapons against Kurdish civilians, killing thousands in the Anfal campaign. Crushed Shiite uprisings with tanks and helicopters, killing tens of thousands. Launched the Iran-Iraq War, resulting in over 1 million casualties and economic ruin. Invaded Kuwait, triggering the Gulf War and international sanctions. Oversaw widespread torture, rape, and disappearances in secret prisons across Iraq. Built a personality cult that demanded constant praise, loyalty, and silence. Created a regime of fear, surveillance, and collective punishment, targeting entire families for one person's crime. List of good deeds. Expanded Iraq's infrastructure, including hospitals, highways, and universities. Promoted secular education, women's rights, and free healthcare during early years of rule. Stabilized Iraq after years of monarchy, coups, and foreign interference. Strengthened Iraq's military to become one of the most powerful in the Arab world at the time. These actions, while significant, were ultimately overshadowed by war, repression, and mass suffering. Death date and cause. Saddam Hussein was executed on December 30, 2006. After a lengthy trial by the Iraqi Special Tribunal, he was found guilty of crimes against humanity for the 1982 massacre of 148 Shiite men in the town of Dujal. He was sentenced to death by hanging. On the morning of his execution, he was taken to a Baghdad military base. Video footage of the event circulated globally. He went to the gallows with defiance, chanting political slogans until the noose ended his rule forever. Where buried? He was buried in his birthplace of Al-Ajah, in a tomb prepared before his death. For a time, the site became a place of pilgrimage for his supporters. However, during later conflicts, the tomb was damaged or possibly destroyed by Iraqi forces who feared it could become a symbol for loyalists. His legacy remains bitterly divided: to some, a martyr; to many, a tyrant.